And we're live.
Hey everybody, welcome. We're so excited to have you tonight. I'm Shira Gans from the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. This is an event tonight as part of New York Music Month Extended Play. During the pandemic, we decided to take New York Music Month, an initiative that we've been running since 2017, and make it an extended play. So since January through June, we've been running programs virtually. We have resources for musicians, New York Music Month industry talks like we're going to do tonight. We have workshops and performances where you can check out new things happening in the city. And recently we've added youth programming. So you can check it out. I'll put in the chat at nymusicmonth.nyc. I'm so excited about tonight. Hip hop is obviously such a central part of New York City and the world, and this is where it started. So we have some amazing people tonight to tell us about it. And I'm going to hand it over to Jess to introduce the panel and to kick it off. So thanks, everyone.
Hey everybody, my name is Jess and I run an artist development company, radio promotion company here in New York City called Cosign. I'm actually going to give the mic over to Jeff Chang. He's your moderator for this afternoon. I'll be hanging out in the chat and in the Q&A. If you guys have any questions for the group, I'll be fielding those and sending those through. So yeah, I'm gonna put myself on mute for a minute. You can see Cindy and Herc are setting up. Jeff can give you the lowdown on what we're about to get into. And thank you guys so much for attending.
Thanks so much, Jessica. And thank you, Shira. Thanks to NYC Music Month Extended Play. Thanks so much to Cosign. Big shout out to Cosign. For those of you who don't know, Cosign is an artist development agency. It's based in New York City, of course, and it's run by Jessica here, who helps make all these kinds of things happen today. They specialize in radio promotion, licensing, content creation, and brand strategy. And a big shout out to the Fair Play Coalition. It's a nonprofit coalition of music lovers committed to ending systemic racism and building frameworks of access, advocacy, and support for BIPOC voices throughout the music industry. We've all benefited a lot from Cosign and from Fair Play. We love you, Jess. Thank you so much for lifting us up on your platforms and for being able to make all of this stuff happen. Huge shout out to all of you joining us. This is going to be a real special evening. And shout out to Cindy and Herc over there who got it all hooked up finally, right? You got all the wires plugged into the light post, and we're about to make this happen, right? This is like the 2021 version of Rocking with the Light Post. It's really good to see you all. My name is Jeff Chang. I'm going to be your moderator. I'm the writer and co-author of Can't Stop, Won't Stop, a history of the hip-hop generation, and now in young adult form for you. And I'm going to be your moderator today. We're going to bring the story of hip-hop back to its roots in New York City, where it all started, with the folks who started it all, and two of the folks who are keeping the torch lit as we move forward. DJ Kool Herc and Cindy Campbell, the father and the mother of hip-hop, whose August 11th, 1973 party is commonly cited as the beginning of the hip-hop movement, and who we owe everything to. You're the reason that we're here. And here we are almost half a century later. Let's just breathe that in for a second. Almost half a century later, right? Hip hop is remaining the voice of young people of all the generations. And we got with you today, Davey D and Rob Kenner, two of the most legendary hip hop journalists and hip hop historians that are out there in the business ever to kind of do the thing, and who are working now to be able to use hip hop to advance social change. So we want to get into all of that. We also want to shine a special light on the role of radio, and also the special light on the role of DJs today. So we're going to talk about all those kinds of things, but let me quickly introduce you to our panel and jump right into it. So first off, my homie, Davey D, my older brother, hip hop journalist, activist, one of the most important hip hop historians, as I just mentioned before. He's a professor at San Francisco State University. He's a radio host, at KPFA's Hard Knock Radio. And he is with me, the co-author of this new young adult edition, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, A History of Hip Hop. We also have with us Rob Kinner, hip hop, dance hall, journalist, writer extraordinaire, one of the original editors of Vibe magazine, somebody who wrote and edited countless important, legendary articles in hip hop. And he went on to become the music editor of Complex magazine, produced documentaries on De La Soul. We love him because he's the founder. We love him for a lot of reasons. He's also the founder of Boom Shots, which is one of the world's leading news sources on reggae, dancehall, and Jamaican music. And most recently, he is the author of the New York Times best-selling book, a biography on the late, great Nipsey Hussle called The Marathon Don't Stop. And last but certainly not least, first in our hearts, Cindy Campbell, the mother of hip-hop, hip-hop's first promoter, hip-hop's first business person, right? There's a direct line from you, Cindy, all the way on up to moguls now like Jay-Z and Cardi B, and DJ Kool Herc, the father of hip-hop, without whom none of this would be possible, who makes it all, who gathered us all and continues to gather us, and whose name we come together. So thanks to all of you for joining us today. Those of you who are in the room with us, you're going to be in for a treat. I want to start off with you, Herc, and with you, Cindy. Just take us back to the beginning. Take us back to all this. Yeah. What is that? Oh my God! You got that photo of us.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yes.
The whole gang.
There's a story behind that. That is literally DJ Kool Herc with all of our families as we launched the book back in 2005, and you can see there like literally 4 generations of folks there. Just him surrounded by all the kids. It's just a beautiful thing. Man, that just makes my heart beat a lot faster, Herc.
I know how to get you.
I love it. Thank you so much for that.
You got it.
Yeah. Can you take us back to that, to where it all started, how you guys got started. A lot of folks know that New York City is the birthplace of hip hop, but they don't know about the birth. So I'm wondering if both of you can take us through the birth of hip hop. Why, sort of how it got started, all of that.
I was born in Jamaica, the West Indies, Kingston town. That's the started from my father. Love his music. And music coming from the wharf. There's a work on Kingston Wharf Garage out there in Newport West. And he get music from the ship. I remember the first time I heard of Bing Crosby, White Christmas. That was it.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, now we can see you.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're talking about the White Christmas. I know you came over during Christmas time. It was a big change from Jamaica.
Beginning to end. White Christmas. Willie can make the mud God here. The things to say.
Look at that, man. Singing Hawaiian music here. Island to island.
I know it. That was it. Love it. You know what I'm saying? And that was it, man. And that's where my music started from. My father loved music, like Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald, all those names, all those big names, Louis Armstrong, and also for my roots, Jamaican music, the Scatterlights, and Bob Marley was in fact, he was young. He wasn't there yet. He's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with other Jamaican legends, you know what I'm saying?
You and Cindy grew up in Trenchtown, I understand. Yeah. Before y'all moved to the other side of town near where the Scatterlights got started.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Matter of fact, we have a legendary in our house, in our family tree. What's his name? Barry's Hammond.
Oh,
It's my cousin, officially, undisputed.
wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know Rob's mind is blown because Rob spent a lot of time with Barris in Jamaica. So that's an amazing, beautiful thing.
And
How did how did you get started DJing? And Cindy, what did you see in all that as you all are coming up, all this music in the household? Uh,
Well,
how did
that's how it all got started. Well, first of all, I know the Herc is the father, and you say mother of hip hop, but it's the first lady of hip hop also.
okay, thank you. All right, that's the way to say it. Thank you.
yeah,
But the thing is, the Herc was musically inclined, and he had all that equipment in his room. So, how the birth came about, as far as back to school party, it was organized. That's what really kicked it off, by going downstairs and renting the room from the management, because we had a recreation room, and the room was for if you had an anniversary or a birthday party or some whatever, you had the facility for that. It had 2 bathrooms, which was great. It had a kitchen. It had an extra room. So my mind and thinking, this would work for me to get some money for back to school, to go down to Delancey Street to purchase clothes to go back to school looking nice. So, it's $25. I went down to the management, and the management said, you are too young to do that, but you need your parent to do it. So
Mm.
to me, that was no problem, because I'm a daddy's girl. And I knew I wouldn't have any problem having my father sign that for me. So that was done. So got that out of the way. And that's something that I learned. If you're going to do something, Jeff, you need to have your venue first. You got to have the venue. You can have everything together. If you don't have that venue, you don't have any event that's going to happen. So now I'm thinking, how do I increase my money? So I asked my father to take me to the wholesale place to buy beverages. If you remember, we were teenagers, we were young. I couldn't buy beer. I couldn't buy Old English 800 or Colt 45. but and that kind of set the trend for, the hip hop drink, Old English 800, So
that,
my
that's it.
dad did that. Then I said, what are we going to do? We have hot dogs. We need to have something to keep the crowd there, to keep the people there. Because once they
Munchie
leave,
town,
uh
with the munchie town, the munchies.
the munchies, and once they leave, because we lived all the way down in the valley. We were the valley girls before they had valley.
There was a spot on 170 called Munchtown.
So once you went up to University Avenue, Jeff, up those steps, you're not going to come back down. You're like, we're not going to take that hike. So I had to think about how to keep them there. So that was one way to keep them there. We had hot dogs and beverages. The music was going to be free, because I said, Herc, just bring your equipment downstairs. I didn't have to pay for the music. So, Herc came down, and, he had the system. Coke Rock was there. He told his friends, Mike with the lights, Timmy Tim.
He was a dancer. Coke was a dancer. Okay, he got style. You burn it down.
It was Coke's birthday last week, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
4th and the 14th, happy belated.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
24th.
And you have to remember too, Jeff, people think that the parties were unsupervised. It wasn't. Our parents were there, and that's another reason too. We had respect there. Our parents were there. You just didn't see them, but they were there. And if anybody did something out of line, they knew Mr. Campbell or somebody in the building was going to say something to them.
Our parents was there. Okay, we was on a close supervision. No problem. The word was behave yourself. Don't hang out in a hallway. Don't
Right.
from the building. And if any disturbance, stay with the you call it with I would say the folks included with it. Go take care of business and don't come back.
So,
You're not gonna air the party. You're not gonna air it out. It's not over. Okay, it's over. The parties, the parties who involved with it, you gotta go down the block with that. And I got them. It was built on respect.
that's
all.
true.
There was you could no. Don't start nothing. Don't start it. If you do, it's over.
Mm.
That was it.
And
All I got was, you got it, Herc. Thank you, appreciate it. And that was it.
Now, So now that we have all that settled, the next thing now, Jeff, is to promote it.
Mm-hmm.
So how you promote it at that time, you promoted on, before there were flyers, you had the index cards. And you'd have to put, the time and the place, and the theme would be whatever song it is
any
at the
records,
time.
any records at the time, or what I'm feeling, that was the indication that it. That was the theme right there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the theme. Whatever record that's coming, that was the name of the party.
The DJs in the house want to know what some of those records were.
You know you can't ask me that.
I'm just saying the DJs in the house want to know.
It's still.
Hey, Herc, I have one of those flyers right here, and I can't make out the names of the 3 records that you have on. Could you please tell us what the names of those records are on the flyer?
Let me see it.
Hey, we've been trying to get records from Herc for about 30 years since I've known you, and I think you may have given me one. One record, that is it.
Whatever record I'm feeling at any time I like it, that's what I put up. You know what I'm saying? It's very, man. James Brown was already there, and other people, was there. And the Mexican was, nobody didn't like that record. I love it. I played it, and that was it,
Mm-hmm.
But, it was man. Woo.
It was exciting, Jeff. It was exciting. We really enjoyed our childhood as far as having, a venue to go to, and pretty much we had to think about the next place. Where do we go next? We pretty much like taking care of the crowd, and people would ask us, when is the next one? Where's the next one? The recreation room got
that was small. That's I never give a party without me giving it. It's always it built up. It was nice, man. I met this girl there. I met this guy there. It was nice. After that, I east west. Then I give the party. Now they're coming now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember, in the recreation room, Jeff,
mm-hmm.
a lot of the people came. Was our friends? So I mean, if we really didn't know you, then you really didn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
So but it was fun, 25 cents for girls and 50 cents for fellas. And sometimes a little hustler, somebody would come in with $1.
25 cents. It was with 10 cents and 25 cents for gum. That's how we charge. That's how we know at the time what was selling more. And that's it. It was 25 cents for juicy fruit. We're not trying to get rich, you know what I'm saying? But guess what? We got to take out the Kool.
I think the hot dog was. I think we sold hot dogs for 25 cents. Hot dog was 25 cents.
I think if you sold it for that much these days, man, there'd be a lot of hot dogs you'd be selling.
And I made sure. I said, Mom. I told my mom, you're going to be in the kitchen, Mom. You're going to be in the kitchen, and you're going to take care of everything because they'll pay Miss Campbell the money because there's an 8mm film that's circulating on YouTube. And you can see my mom in the kitchen there, and you can see myself there and people partying. And I was pretty much like the organizer, telling people what they had to do. When it got really crowded and people were there, I would just knock on the door and tell Herc, shout on there, Mike with the lights, and Mike would go by the switch and flick it. And Herc had a smoke machine. It was exciting. It was fun.
Also the promotion at the subway station, the posters. I took them out the back of it and made my flyers like that.
Oh, okay. So you when you all started taking it outside of just the neighborhood, the 1520 Cedric West Bronx neighborhood.
I could put it up at the store. If I can I do it? And I'm making my flyers and turn the back of the posters from the subway.
Uh-huh. And you had that graffiti artist like ex-Vandals flex going on too with that, I'm sure, right? Like nice hand styles and whatnot.
The boys was there. Phase 2, Lionel, Kool Clyde, you know what I'm saying? And Super Kool, all them guys, man, that was out there.
Mm.
I know that. Well, that's hip hop. It's all graffiti came first. And if you're in the hip hop culture, you graffiti. You became a graffiti artist. That you get a tag name.
They wanted to know who the hell I was. I try to keep it anonymous, but guess what? My father found out I've been getting the ass whipping. He was with that. He was not with that. Then you start calling me Herc. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. Well, it's all in the family. I want to bring in Dave here real quick. Dave, you were a kid growing up in the Bronx. What were you hearing about the cool Herc parties and the Herculoids and Cindy's promotions and all that kind of stuff coming from the other side of town? Because you were in the South Bronx or the Southeast Bronx, right?
I'm in Soundview.
Soundview, okay.
So obviously I was too young to go to a Herc party, and I didn't even know
I was
about it
never
until
near. I
years
was
later.
never near
Yeah.
sound.
But Herc's name was legendary. Either sometimes you heard a tape of a tape of a tape of a tape, right? And so be distorted, and you might hear somebody on an echo, or you might hear yes, yes, y'all, or some music playing. It'd be like, oh, that's a cool Herc tape. You heard older people talk about going to Herc parties. And so it was mythological. There was not, you got to remember, today we can kind of have an understanding of what went on. But back then, if we're talking about 76, 77, and you're my age at that time, you're hearing that there's this party, there's this guy.
It's bubbling up now.
Yeah, there's this guy, who's, big, strong guy named Herc, and he's doing these parties that, there was no word lit, but it was the thing that people were doing. And by then, other people were trying to.
The joint. We call
Yeah,
it
the joint, yeah. Other people were trying to do their own versions of that party, so there would be block parties around my neighborhood. There would be people trying to do parties in the recreational centers, because every housing project and every housing development had a rec center. So people would do those parties there. But the prototype for those parties was obviously Herc. And, there were always block parties in New York, but the difference between a block party and a cool Herc block party was the break beats. It was, going into a party and hearing a snippet of a song,
You never heard it like this before. And you're back for more and more. And this is rottenness.
And so, so back then, I had a tape. I wish I kept that tape. That's the other thing. You don't know how valuable these things are. It's like, oh yeah, you can keep that tape. I'm gonna get another, and then a year goes by, and 2 years go by, and this thing blows up. And then you're like, yo, what happened to that tape I gave you? And somebody's like, oh, I don't know. I'm keeping this tape now.
I don't know if this guy alive still. His name was Tape Master. He had all the CDs.
Yeah.
He had all of that called Tape Master.
But, in all seriousness, the two names that I heard the most when I was coming up, and so we're talking about maybe 12, 13 years old, and as you got older, was Herc's name and Mario. Those were the two names. Then you heard the L Brothers. Those were the other names you started to hear. Yeah. And then later on, it became normal. You heard Flash, you heard Bam, you heard Theodore, Theodore coming out of the L Brothers.
Another guy named Kool D.
Kool D,
yeah. His mother bought him a sound system. I don't have that. His mother went and bought him a sound system. I was like, whoa, look at the Mac 2200. That's the top of the line.
The other thing that was going on at the time, and again, we don't have YouTube. We don't have videotape. The world's a big place. If on his part of the Bronx versus mine, that's light years away. You don't have a car to get in, be like, let's go over to Cedric Avenue. And there's no direct train line. There's no direct train line. Yeah.
You're coming from you're crossing a lot of places. 3rd Avenue over to they're right by the Major Deegan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the hills and valley.
Yeah.
You go up to the hill, down to the valley. That's what they call it, the valley. You know what I'm saying? And you were good.
So you kind of had to, figure out how you were going to get over there. If you were even going to go, that's the other thing. And, the thing that just stood out to me is not only was this the prototype, but, it's just legendary in terms of how people would interpret it. So one person would go, oh yeah, there's a party, there's a bunch of people in the house. And the next one is like, oh, they got a bunch of people there on the mic. What are they doing on the mic? They're talking. Somebody else is like, they're singing. Some people else would be there saying rhymes. What kind of rhymes? So you're trying to pick up all this information. And then there was always an older person around that actually went to the party that would kind of lace you with the game. But then, it was a lot of interpretation and reinterpretation of what was going on. So, that was the thing, and we were trying to figure out the records. That was the other thing. So, here we are 40 years later.
Still trying
this man is on the panel and, in front of all these people, he won't give us the records. Although I found a bunch of them from people who did go to that people did go. We knew that you played Mano Dubango, Funky Makossa, and
I heard that record on first down from 45 to 75 cents. The album, the album, the 45.
Mm-hmm.
75 cents. Wow.
Whew.
And I got that quick. Mama do nothing. It didn't sound good. It sounded good.
But you also had the other record you played too, which was Tempo or Semper, whatever. There was other cuts that you played off that.
Yeah.
What was it? The I Just Want to Celebrate. The white dudes. What's their names again?
Rare Earth.
Rare Earth. Yeah.
That record right there let me know that racism was. I didn't know. Listen. I danced on that record. That's an album. It's deep. When they talk about the record, if for one of them I would grind them, three of them I would grind them. I would dance with three young ladies. But that's how the record started out, Where it started slow, you know what I'm saying? And I can dance. Next one, Dixon, and then it goes into the break. That's it. You do nothing now.
And I'm going to tell you one other thing that was a little confusing.
Right.
We didn't know if you was young, if it was Kool Herc and the Herculoids or the Herculords. So, because there was the speaker, you were naming the sound system. So there was also confusion around that. So break that down.
Okay. The sound system we call the Herculoids.
Herculoids.
We was never individuals. We was only individuals. DJs. Clark Kent. Mike, and also Mike with the lights. We had a guy that take the lights. He just switch like a strobe. So Mike with the lights. You know what I'm saying? And then the twins, the B-boy, then the B-boys. That was them. You can't leave them out. They can't leave, and that was it.
Definitely.
That was it. The sound system we call the Herculoids. That's it.
And then afterwards, everybody else started naming their sound system. So Flash had the Gladiator. Baron and him had Sasquatch. I think everybody started naming their sound system.
Yeah, right.
But in the beginning, we didn't know. It's like, this dude named Kool Herc and the Herculoids, and somebody else be like, no, that's his sound systems. And it's like, well, who's he with? What's the name of the group? And it's the Lords. It's the Lords. It was fun, to try and figure out the pieces to the puzzle.
I want to bring Rob in here real quick. Oh, sorry, Herc. What were you gonna say?
What I like with Kid Cleo, right? Yes, yo. This is the fact that the Herculoids not caused a disaster. But it only could be one grass smack by a master. Thank you very much. I take that.
we gotta come back to the shout out piece and all the MC type stuff. But I wanted to bring in Rob here actually. Because Rob, you've been doing so much around Jamaican music and dance hall and the roots of dance hall, and I'm wondering what you're thinking about in terms of the connections between what you've seen in Jamaica and then what Cindy and what Herc are doing here in the Bronx in 1973, moving all the way on up to 1977.
Well, I love just the combo about
look at that.
No, but naming the sound system,
record.
who names the sound system? But a Jamaican person, right? It's a Jamaican thing. Your sound is the sound is the foundation of everything, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting, Cindy, that you said your brother had all the gear in his room before you threw this back to school jam, right?
Right.
So what was the gear for? What was he doing with the gear?
Well, my father also and his friends, like on the weekends, they would play at events, a little
Okay.
party going on. They would play with it. And a lot of the equipment was stored in Herc's room.
Okay.
So Herc was on there. I used to go in when he's not there and play the turntables, but I couldn't let him catch me in there.
Oh, we didn't know that. We didn't know that you were a DJ too, Cindy.
She got an ear for she got an ear for music. She bought me some
I know
records.
that.
She bought me some records. Matter of fact, I'm gonna blow up right now.
What records did you buy?
I
her,
would
Cindy?
Her name was Pep One.
yeah, that was my tag name. Pep One.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know. We knew none of this. This is dope.
Oh yeah, I told you you have to have a tag name. You have to have a tag name. At one point, you had to be a B-boy or B-girl.
Mhm.
And and it goes on. Then you're a rapper or MC or a DJ. But that's the way it went. And being musically inclined with my father, and we know good music. Like bought him Queen. I love Eddie Mercury. I love Queen. I love Queen from back in the 70s, 80s. And when I heard Queen song, I brought it to Herc. We Will Rock You. So Herc used to use that part, that break in his song. He would just throw that in. We will rock you. And then he would repeat it again because he had the two turntables. I also brought him a Trans Europe Express. What I would do to it.
You did that.
She bought that to me. I didn't know nothing about it.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, so I would bring him different music, to play because I just being creative and just knowing music, and we want to introduce people to newness and new music. So that was the whole creativity thing behind it, to keep going and keep going and building on it. And that's what I did. Mm-hmm.
So
I would
hold on
like
a second.
Okay. Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
so after this event, could we sit down and you give me the playlist of these parties? You're the
You
plug.
want to see me?
You're the plug. Yeah, we want to.
Still jacking for beats.
You want my brother to disown me?
And you try. You still good. You know what you do, David D? You want the president for JetBlue.
You'll be what?
Go to JetBlue. Go to JetBlue for the playlist.
I'm gonna.
Okay, all flights. Okay, we take care of that. For your listen pleasure, this is DVD, and Kool Herc and Cindy.
So can I test? I want to test out a theory, if I may. I'm going to put this in the committee, and you all tell me if I'm on the right track or if I'm barking up the wrong tree. I feel as though this whole conversation that we're having is about hip hop, right?
Yes.
You are both Jamaican youths in the concrete jungle, right? You made that journey with your family, just like Bob Marley sang about concrete jungle. You're in the concrete jungle.
I was living in it.
Yeah, but you're doing something that is a Jamaican cultural institution, really, even though you're not necessarily playing reggae, because actually Jamaican dances don't all play reggae. It's the idea of plug in the booming system, bring the best people together, play the best parts of the best records, and say something on the mic, right?
Right.
That's what it is. That's hip hop. The long and short of whatever we're calling the birth of hip hop, that is the thing that we're talking about, correct?
That's it.
Okay, and so my theory is that we're really talking about sound system culture. We're talking about Jamaican and maybe other places too, but I know for a fact in Jamaica, there was a young gentleman named Daddy U-Roy who passed very recently. Rest in peace.
Listen. I grew up with all of that stuff, man. I grew up on that. You know, that's it.
And Daddy Uroy never imagined that he was going to be like a recording artist because he was running a sound system. He was playing with King Tubby's.
I met him, you know. I met him in New York one time at SOB. I just happened to be
Okay.
there.
Well,
And
you
if
know what?
you see it.
Well,
You
with you, Roy, he's the original Toastmaster. He would
Yes.
just go to the party and he would
Not
just
taking
toast on the
nothing
mic.
at all. I learned from him.
And that's what Herc learned from just toasting on the mic.
And so when you say toasting, people now call it rapping, but it's a little more jive. It's a little more laid back. It's a little more conversational.
Right now, it come from hip hop. It come from Jamaica. Then the guys like Heavy D, he know it. The Heavy D said Heavy D. You know what I'm saying?
And then Heavy D puts out a hand to Supercat at Act 3 in the Bronx. I think they linked up in the Bronx.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Pete Rock, also Pete Rock.
Of course, the Chocolate Boy Wonder. But what I'm saying is, Supercat has told me that there was a time in the music industry where reggae was considered more established than hip hop. So hip hop acts could not get a gig to tour because they were considered, maybe it was a fad or it was like a security risk, whatever it was. The Puffy and Biggie, as young artists on the rise, got a strength by collaborating with Supercat. It wasn't like Supercat was getting a look on a big rap record. It was the opposite. Like reggae was giving a strength to this new music out of New York called hip hop.
Right now, I'm glad we talk about that. That's where it comes from. After I couldn't, the accent was so heavy, so now they changed it up a little bit. That was it. This is the same thing. It was the same thing in the rapping form now. That was it.
Right.
Once they got hold of it, it's the same talking right now. It's a heavy accent.
Right. Exactly.
That's Bob Marley. He worked on his vocabulary, and I was
Yes.
to understand it.
Right. True.
So that was it. So therefore, this is the man that gave me my inspiration right here.
Cox and Dodd.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
Damn gorilla.
Okay. That's the man that's right here.
Yep. And if you were to ask, like, he had a record shop in Brooklyn. Cox and Dodd established, his Coxon's Music City in Brooklyn, even though Studio One is the foundation of a lot of what we're talking about of sound system. And when I met him for the first time and I asked him his favorite style of music, because they produce a lot of different things, he said, "Me's a jazz man."
My father loved Nat King Cole. That was his man.
Right.
That was his man. Period.
And you said White Christmas. Coxon had Bob Marley and the Wailers singing a cover of White Christmas. They actually made a Studio One White Christmas. So all of this music, all these categories that we put music in is a little bit superficial, because it really just comes down to, if Kool Herc plays it, it's cool, right? If the selector plays it in a dance, it's dance hall, in a sense. It's just how you play with feeling.
Something's taking the form right here, right now,
That's it. So I know we're doing this under the New York City mayor's office. So I just want to say, we're not talking about Jamaica for no reason or because we want to go on vacation. We can't wait till the COVID,
the tourism thing now come back.
Yes, I'm ready when the time is right.
Clive, come back, Clive.
But this is a time, like, we're still getting over 4 years of a federal government that was fighting against immigration and fighting against people that don't, fit America or whatever that is, that don't make America great. But honestly, this hip hop thing is the biggest cultural movement ever out of America.
You want I tell you something, Rob. When we were fighting, took us 3 years to fight to save the building as the birthplace of hip hop, 1520 Cedric Avenue. And when Senator Chuck Schumer,
he's very instrumental in that.
Yeah, when he knew the significance and the importance of the struggle that we were doing to save the building, one of the main reasons that caught him, where he said, I'll be part of this until the end, because he said, this is an immigrant story.
Mm.
This is an immigrant story. He says, my parents are immigrant, and he was there with us. We had 3 press conference, and he was at all 3 press conference. He made sure we got the news.
Serrano helped out too,
Exactly.
Mhm.
So it's an immigrant story.
Right. And
Go-
that's the thing. Hip hop is a Caribbean culture in a lot of ways. Puerto Rican, Jamaican.
Nobody left out.
Yeah, but
Nobody
it's
left out.
also it's a combination. It has definitely its Caribbean roots,
Exactly.
but you also have to go back in that time when we're coming up. I was an MC in '77, and so my immediate look was to look at an H. Rap Brown and look at a Last Poets and look at
Oh, yeah.
Dolomite and all those things. And so the important thing to note is that as Africans, whether we're in Jamaica, whether we're in Haiti, whether we're in the US, there's always been verbal expression. And, and it shows up different ways in different places. And so, one could make the case that there's always been people that had colorful ways to express themselves with rhymes and songs and what have you. And the beauty of this is that you can look at you, Roy, and the toasting out of Jamaica, and you got to put it right alongside with the wordsmith that you saw with the Last Poets in the Black Arts Movement. You got to put it right alongside with Dolomite and Street Talk and Pimp Talk. It all feeds off each other. It all feeds off. Herc's position was it was the lightning bolt that hit the right spark and set it off. And so everybody was like, oh, we can do this. We could do what Coke LaRock and them are doing. That reminds me of what my daddy was doing. But now this is the cool thing to do it. And you had that formula that we could all plug into. But it's important to note that we all have these similar type of love affairs with drum, with music, and with our expressive ways verbally. So that's the beauty of it.
That's what I love. That's why I love James Brown. When he came to the island, I first heard him play James Brown. Give it up, Sex Machine. I love him. That was it. He's talking to me. In some ways, he's talking to me. I'm listening to music, and I like how you talk and the music, and that turned me on. You know what I'm saying? From there went on. That's why this album right here, I love this. I love this album right here because
that's that one. Yep.
I went to go find this record that I love from the beginning to the end. I said, no, that's not white. We don't want that white movement. No, it's want that. I read when I want the soul record. The guy said, this is the album. Right, guys. I said, oh no. He said, listen, you're gonna buy this. Say, I don't want to buy no push in the bottom. If I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna open it up. Man, when it kicked on, I was like, I felt like that. You remember that story? You remember Alice in Wonderland? Wizard of Oz, the witch. The witch.
But you get back on this call, Cindy. We need you on here.
I'm fading. I felt so small. This is my album. My white boys. They talk about white boys can't jump. They can rock. Okay, rock your ass to sleep.
I love it.
My favorite. This is it, right? Besides James Brown, the board's right here.
I love this. Jessica, do you have a question? I'm sorry, Herc. You about to say?
So it let me know. Ever since some that right there, we talk about, how can we reach the kids? How can we reach the kids? It came in the form of music. Little white boy, little black guys rapping together. There was never no racism in my party. Get away for that. Don't start no shit. So therefore, that's just therefore this right here. It let me know ever since this album. It let me know my music ain't got no color. My music ain't got no color. If it's nice, it's a jam. I'm playing it.
Exactly. That's why I brought him Queen and Transcript
That's it.
Express. If it's good music,
Gary Glitter, all of them music, man. I play that to rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll. I know, but but listen, music ain't got no color.
Dave, you getting this list down? He just dropped
Oh,
4
no,
times.
no. I've been listening.
Okay.
I've been collecting.
When it hits you, it don't feel no pain. The Bible says, when the one thing about music, when you hit you, feel no pain.
and also tell him what Baby Huey said, Herc. Your man, Baby Huey.
Oh, baby,
That was the record that I got from you, Baby
Remember, he
Huey.
said
Woo.
that my
3
people.
cuts off of
what did he say?
Baby Huey.
Baby Huey. Yo, man. Baby Huey, man. My people. See, you take it from there, man.
No, yeah, it just Baby Huey's your guy. He said is one type of people. What did he say? It's one type of people. It's my people. It's your people.
Yeah.
You're one.
That's right. It said there's all type of people. There's black people, there's white people, and there's my people. But you got to play. Because that record right there, because Barry you, he's another one. It's been a long time coming.
Yep.
I listen to that record. It's a long time coming.
Yeah, that album. That whole album.
Talk to you.
We got some questions that are coming in, Jessica. I know that, and this conversation is on fire. So I think we're gonna probably we were gonna actually have this wrap up in about 10 minutes. I feel like we got to keep it moving because it's a lot of questions that are coming out. So go ahead, Jessica. What you got coming in from the chat and Q&A?
The first question was actually kind of ties back to your one of the questions that you were going to ask. We had someone asking what folks are listening to currently, but I think actually that's something that can be answered in the context of your question about the reflection of youth within hip hop from kind of the start of these parties to the 80s to 90s to now. And Rob and Dave too, like Rob, in the context of Jamaica, Dave in the context of being in New York in this transitional time. What do you guys listen to, or how did what you listen to, what you're putting out there change with like what you were hearing on the streets with what was happening with the youth? Was that a consideration to keep people coming, to keep people engaged?
Every 5 years, I noticed. Every 5 years, there's a new sensation. I call it my granddaughter. That's my cousin. I call it Cardi B. Every 5 years, somebody come along. Somebody's coming behind in front of her. Somebody's do the homework and all that stuff right now, and they're going to be somebody. The kids ain't gonna go nowhere. It's for the youth. It's for the youth, and it's the youth and the young at heart.
Right. And you always have that artist will always have a fighter range. So artists, if you're listening out there and you get successful and everything is for you, you're on every award show, they're coming at you with Pepsi commercial or ads or whatever. Keep in mind, you're gonna have 5 years. So make the best of those 5 years. It's not that your career is gonna end, but there's somebody else.
No. Peace of the gods and the earth. It's Ramadan.
So let me say something about to your question. One of the significant things that happened is that once we got hip to the introduction of breakbeats, and that's real important, a lot of other music fell to the side because what we started listening to were the breaks, and we had our own terminology. I would go to downstairs records, and I'm looking for these nicknames.
Uncle Nick.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for these nicknames of records. But for a long time, you didn't want to hear the entire records. You might have heard The Mexican by Babe Ruth. You might have heard Apache in its entirety. You might have heard Dance to the Drummer's Beat by Herman Kelly. But I didn't want to hear, my people didn't want to hear entire records, maybe Good Times, maybe Cheryl Lynn, but we listened for the break. And I think that re-centralized us because music was getting diluted and it was being commercialized and discoized. And we talked about this, Herc, a lot. Herc said in the beginning, a lot of what he played was funk. You know, he talked about having that funk sound.
And the
so
drum and the
even
bass.
yeah, so even if it was a rock record, he was still playing it in such a way that we was getting the funky part of that rock record, and that shaped us in the way that we were really going to, really engage music moving forward. It was like it had to have something that just made you like either want to get on the floor or just be like, man, this is my thing right here.
That's the record. There's a yolk in there. It's a yolk, like an egg. There's a yolk. And you watch it, the record. I gotta look at the record. And they would tell me because I didn't have no mixers then. I have to watch. I have to know my records, so you could see the break to see it. You know, that's how I say nothing. I said, what happened? I said, what happened if I put everybody together, the best of it, and I called it the merry-go-round, and that was it. And Bongo Rock was the lead off. That was it.
Yeah.
Everybody went for the part of the party. That was it. We're going to be the merry-go-round now.
You know something Davey did too also? By the time everything was over with after you're dancing from the merry-go-round, one song after another. Like if you had an afro, your afro would be different ways or trick.
Yeah, it's gonna be gone.
Huh?
Said your afro is gonna be flattened.
So are there records now that hit you over the head like the ones that you heard back in the day? I think this person's like, well, who's your current musical inspiration? Or is there been somebody over time that's been like, that's, moved in these 5-year cycles that, you like break it down a little bit?
I mean, for me right now, I listen to her, H-E-R out of Vallejo. Woo.
Oh yeah, she just won an award. Didn't she win an award?
Listen, what she does is, I mean, that stuff is just like,
Billy Idol, Billy Idol. I had some music for her.
Okay.
But I could say right now, if I hear them. You know what I'm saying? There's a baby, another guy that called Baby. Him.
Yeah. Baby, yep.
Little Baby or Da Baby?
Little
Baby. Go ahead, Jessica.
What about YBN Corday? Anybody checking out his latest EP? He's coming with some fire. I think his next album is going to be really important. There's still people that keep up the traditions of like great storytelling and lyricism. But I don't want to sleep on the people that don't even sound dope to my ear, because I think the youth hear different things than what I hear. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been trained to certain traditions, and I don't want to stop listening to like the next 16-year-old artist, even if they don't sound like Nas when Nas was 16,
There's the cut I love. I played in the party, right? Yeah, the girl said, our friend called. You know what Herc is playing in the party? White Trash Party, Eminem.
Oh.
Huh.
Okay.
I like the record. So that's my thing. They never played it. White Trash Party, WAPP.
Hey, since we're talking about New York, right? I want to give a big shout out to Rebel Diaz. So Herc, you remember them because those are your people. They built their own warehouse, and they're dope.
Bronx, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, because you miss somebody's name, somebody gonna leave, but no, Rebel Diaz, definitely. Definitely. Okay, he got my vote.
And Herc is being modest here, so I'm just gonna give you your flowers on this.
Put it out there.
The Black
Rebel, no. Let me give you flowers on this because I think people should know this. So Rebel Diaz has a collective in the Bronx where I used to live, around the Hunts Point area.
Oh yeah.
And they set up a warehouse, and not that they set up a warehouse, but they had people in the neighborhood help build that warehouse, and when they were there, they were doing a lot of teaching and a lot of things.
Right.
And this brother here would ride his bike over there every day, and he would help out with the youth there. No fanfare, no announcement, no anything. Just show up and be present day in and day out and give the people that history. And so I give you props for that, because they would tell me, like, Herc is here, like, Herc came by, and it'd be like, oh, just for the day? No, he comes by every day. He ride his bike, come kick it with everybody, and give them that love and soak it up, so he would know.
Yeah, my boys.
Rebel Diaz, big shout out to them.
Thank you.
I got a question here I wanted to ask, and I think it's an amalgamation of some of the questions that are coming in the chat. Folks want to know, Herc and Cindy especially, what you all think of hip hop began here, right? In your rec center at 1520 Sedgwick on the bottom floor. And of course, now it's become this huge thing. They want to know how you're feeling about that. What it's done for the world. What do you want to see changed about it? And, what you're excited about right now.
I'm going back to the snippets. I remember Mayor Lindsay and the governor. And it come from there. The substance from the Third Avenue L, all of that. Keep coming up, listening, migrate to Jamaica, from Jamaica to America. And then Pamela, the vice president.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And also with Reagan. Reagan was DJ. When we did the inauguration, he asked for the B-boys.
1980.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was never a color thing with me. It was never that.
Yeah, he brought, you can actually say, Jeff, he brought hip hop to the White House, because he was a DJ also. His name, when he was in the Army, his name was DJ Dutch.
So,
the same Ronald Reagan that I'm thinking of?
Yeah,
I put my hands like this. When I heard
DJ Dutch?
the White House, I was good.
DJ Dutch? Are you serious?
Why don't you somebody Google that and look? What was Ronald Reagan's DJ name in the Army?
Okay. When I heard Bongo Rock.
I wonder if that's a little misinformation or fake news here. Are you serious?
Why do you think he had hip hop? He had hip hop in the White House because he
New York City Breakers, no doubt. New York City Breakers in 1984. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
They played bongo rock.
Yeah.
Going back to
We're
the
gonna rock it again.
Oh snap! Dutch Reagan. Yeah.
DJ Dutch though? DJ like on the wheels of steel type of vibe.
Ronald Dutch Reagan.
Wow.
And he got his picture.
Okay.
God, dog.
Okay.
I never knew that.
Learn something every day. Thank you for that.
Been our governor. He was our. Well, I didn't really like him.
So he brought hip hop to the White House, and he brought crack to LA.
That's exactly it.
But hey,
the war house.
Put it down, Rob.
We worked it out.
He's a little part of the DJ history.
I got almost.
That took a turn that I didn't expect at all.
But
Sorry, Herc. What are we saying?
Go back to the question. I'm very happy. I'm pleased with the way hip hop has transcended and to be a part of it and from the beginning. And you have to remember, they couldn't dismantle hip hop. At the time, remember the Bronx was burning. They didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And we found something out of all of that craziness.
The kids.
Get rid of the gang violence, because when this hip hop thing came about, now you had something that you could want to be a part of without even going into any type of initiation.
They never let it go. It evolved. That way, it never went.
Right, and we always stand behind it. We never, was jealous of anyone. We were happy for everybody to share, because it was something that, if it didn't grow the way it did, it wouldn't be here right now. And it's all over the world. It's international. And I feel great about it. And it's going to keep going. Like Herc always say, hip hop is like the internet. It has no reign on it. You really can't control it. You can't dismantle it at this point right now. It's just a dominant. It's become a culture. It's become a culture that people are proud to say they're a part of it. And yes, the hip hop people there, they're like, you know, like you say, our children. We used to Herc is the father and the mother. You always have somebody else acting up in the family. What do you do with them? You just have to work with them, you know. You
do them bad. Okay, behave yourself, that clap it back on your backside.
Exactly. You know, and I love everyone. You know, it had its movement. At one point, they had the gangster rap. Then you know, you have the down south rap, and you had, you know, L.A. put it on the map. Everybody was doing their own little thing, and you know, and they grew from it. I mean, we travel all over. Hip hop has been a passport for us. We've heard people tell us, if it wasn't for hip hop, I don't know where I'd be. I really don't know, you know.
I heard it from the man himself. I heard it from himself. God rest his soul. You know what I'm saying? Biggie. He said, Herc, thank you for starting hip hop. Otherwise, I've been robbing and stealing. Thank you. And that's word. You know what I'm saying? He said, thank you. And even go a little further. You know, we had some passing. So I got some passing saying. And as we speak right now, tomorrow is the Black Rob birthday funeral. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow. And the same time too from the X-Man himself,
right?
Is family. His family, his kids. Darren, my king, right there. We grew up with them. It's a Swiss beat. He's a hip hop, born into it. He's born into it. His father used to live in the building, about 10 years old. You know,
I'm proud of the culture that we have created. It's
somebody left out.
Let's take it back to the Bronx real quick. You know, a lot of folks are asking you all too about just a shift, taking it back to the beginning, right? It happens in the Bronx, like the whole shift that you all bring about. There was a gang peace treaty in 1971, right? The whole Avenue Peace Treaty, where everybody got together at the Boys Club, and
Black Benji, all those guys.
Black Benji, Yellow Benji, Karate Charlie, the brothers from the Skulls and the Spades, and all the rest. You know, how did you all see changing to the point that you could actually bring it back around in 1973, 2 summers later, to be able to do the thing that you were doing? What was changing on the street, and what did you see hip hop doing to change things on the street at that particular point in the early 1970s?
Well, the thing is, when you would give a house party, or maybe the church would have a basement parties, what these gangs were doing is they were really terrorizing people. They would just show up at your apartment and they come in.
We have friends too that didn't come and start nothing.
So and come in, if they're looking for somebody, they know this person is going to be there. They'll go and try to shoot that person or beat them up or whatever, and terrorize the party. So when it started shifting now, a lot of people didn't want to be in gangs, but it was like, you're young, you're teenage, you want to belong to something. People try to get us to join gangs, but we didn't join any gang. We wouldn't dare join a gang. You know, so it gave somebody something.
It didn't work. It didn't, you know, they know me, but they didn't work. My father was on my ass. That wasn't happening.
So it gave teenagers, it gave young people a way out. As I mentioned before, now you can get your little recognition as a b-boy, because they were celebrities in the area. I mean, a lot of the girls wanted to go out with them or dance with them. They became celebrities, you know, and they loved it when they came to the parties. You know, so
I changed your name to your fame, and it still stands right now.
Right. You had Trixie, the original b-boy Trixie. You had Wallace D. You had Sasha, El Marco,
and Sister Boo.
Sister Boo, yeah. So they were little celebrities in their own rights, you know.
Don't forget me. I used to dance too.
Oh, a Kool Herc. Oh, don't forget me. I was a B girl too.
Y'all did it all.
Yeah.
Definitely. I split it. I can't do it no more. That stinky leg ain't working no more.
That question was a kind of a setup to get you to talk about how you think, this was monumental what you all did in terms of shifting the culture at the street level in the Bronx in the 1970s, and I just want you to maybe connect that up to now and how you think about how it's changed people all around the world. You've been able to go all around the world and see the impact that you've had from the very first days to now. We've been able to do that together. I've been blessed to be able to be with you all in different places to kind of see that. But I just, how do you think about that now when you look back on all of these years, almost 50 years of hip hop?
Don't remind me, man. Come on.
You still looking good though.
That thing's going in and out, It take a little while to get
I mean, I love it when I go and to different, even right here in New York, and I could see that the people involved in it, their hearts are in it. You just can't tell them they're not part of hip hop culture. I love that. That's their identity.
Mm-hmm.
It made generation like. Listen, we had white kids in my party. We know them. Nobody I think can't come in here. You're white. None of that. It's none of that. You come and behave yourself. That was it. That was the path. The code. Don't start nothing. Behave yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Then we go to sunrise. We could go to sunrise now.
Break of dawn.
Break of dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when and we always use the buddy system, like people left in groups, like you were saying, Davey, you're going across town. If you heard about the party, you'd have to find out who's going, and you have a little group, maybe like four of you, 5 of you, because it was a long trip, it was a long journey that you had to take. And when you think about it, the parties were always on a Saturday because we had no school on Saturday. It went later because our parents were there. So when you see anything that's, I say, hip hop, it's always family orientated. Family, you're there with your kids, your grandkids or whatever. It's kids are there. You don't have a whole lot of big security around, but because it's something that's hip hop.
Like, and also with my party at, we'd have no problem with police. They know where we were at. There was no problem. They know we was okay.
Right.
It was shut it down. We never that shut it down.
Never.
There ain't no problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if the police did come, which they never did, our parents were there to talk to them. Right. So they knew everything was okay. The parents in the building didn't complain because to them it wasn't, they know where the kids are. I know where my kids are on the weekend,
Right now,
right downstairs.
Right now, the city's opening up right now. The Mayor de Blasio.
Yes.
Yeah, the Night Queen. Name was Ariel. She in charge of nightlife.
Oh, nightlife in New York City, right?
Ariel. She was a dancer. She could dance, but she working with the mayor. She was the queen of nightlife. That's the speaker. That's just dropping like on that.
Mm-hmm. I just think that that's such an important thing to say right now in light of all the stuff that's kind of been happening right around policing and what folks have been in the streets about, thinking about rest in power, George Floyd, and all the other folks whose lives have been taken by police, and talking here about community solutions, right? Literally, you all creating these community solutions for people. From a day-to-day type of basis for folks to be able to gather in peace and to be able to kind of move it forward. We're running down out of time, and I want to just bring Davey and Rob back in to ask if you all want to have anything that you want to add or even ask, because we got, Herc and Cindy here.
And I hope I've answered everybody's question. If I didn't answer your question, please just ask me again or rephrase it. I hope I'm just answering all the questions the way I feel best.
So Cindy, over the years, I've got to know you. And one of the things is that, we call you the first lady of hip hop. Some people say the mother, and you're jovial here, but you're also a businesswoman.
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
talk a little bit about that? You know,
Oh,
like if when
I'll tell
when
you.
the lights and cameras are off,
Okay,
it's
I'm gonna.
another Cindy
Yeah.
that we got to
Yes,
talk
Oh,
to.
oh, yeah.
Flavor Flav, Flavor Flav, called Foofy Foofy. He said,
Yeah.
I would assist like my Herc
Yeah.
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
his mouth. Okay.
But
You know,
I think this is
I want a
important
sister
because
like
you
Cindy. I want a sister like Cindy, Herc. I want a sister like Cindy. Because people, it's amazing now. People don't realize, or they probably don't even see it, the bond and the relationship my brother have with each other. And it's going back from the way we started. If you look at we've been partners together.
Madam, I never talk about too much because since political correction, well, it was like this. Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, okay. That's not sure we could now. But the last street call is the joint. That's I would say come to the party.
The Serioso joint ski.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Davey, give you one of my business, how, you'll say, how I'm serious, I have to get serious. When they were making the movie Beach Street, you're talking about 1984 came out, I think, yeah.
Mhm.
And Harry Belafonte is one of the producers of that film with David Picker, who was a co-producer for Midnight Cowboy. But anyway, when he came and he was doing his research in the Bronx about this hip hop thing, Herc name kept popping up.
Stan Layton.
Yeah,
Stan Layton, yeah.
Then I'll tell you how Stan Layton came into the picture with that. He was a young and up and coming director. So Harry said, wait a minute, I need to have this Kool Herc. I need to talk to him. And he said, go and find him. So he had an assistant at the time. Her name was Alicia. Very nice young lady. I'll always remember it. So Alicia was the one, it was her job to find her. She found her. Herc called me and he said, Cindy, they're making a movie because this movie is going down and they're going to people individually and people are not saying anything to each other. They're just running down to the set to be a part of the movie. But anyway, I said to him, really? Harry Belafonte, a movie, Hollywood? So that's when I got into the picture. I met with Harry Belafonte, David, and at the time they had a different director on the film. It was a white guy, but he was using words and slang in there that really didn't go with the culture. So Harry, he got fired. So they brought in Stan Layton. He's a young and upcoming Black director. And Harry really gave him one of those big starts. And when they gave me the script and I looked at the script, the character that they wanted Herc to play. Now, I'm just like 20 something years old. I'm talking to these big executives. And I said, the only thing is, Mr. Belafonte, the character role that you want Herc to play, he can't play that role. It's a negative, but he's not that type of a person. Herc is out there to help people. He helps people more than he helps me sometimes, So he said, what is it that you don't like about it, Cindy? I said, well, this character, the reason why at the time Guy Davis's son, he was in the picture, became this big DJ for the Roxys. He got his break because this DJ was sulking and skinny, and his hands got smashed up on the windowsill. And I'm like, oh no, I know my brother is good looking, and the way they want to make him sulking. I said, anyway, I explained it to him. He says, okay, Cindy, I agree with you. We'll rewrite it and look at it and tell if it's a go. So they wrote it as a real character where he was the owner of a club in the Bronx called the Burning Spear. And the DJ, the owner from the Roxys came up to me, another owner. He said, look, your DJ, I hear he's good. I want him to go downtown, to spin for me. And then Herc went up to Guy Davis when he was playing the record and says, it's your big break. You're going downtown or whatever. Anyway, I wasn't afraid to tell them to change the script. And then Harry looked at me and he, with his raspy voice, and he goes, Cindy, are you an attorney? I said, no, Mr. Belafonte. He goes, well, you're dealing with Hollywood right now. I suggest you go out and get your attorney. So that's how Harry was. And still today, we're still friends with the Belafonte family. Gina Belafonte, a good friend of mine, we speak all the time on the phone. Harry is doing great. Gina Belafonte, they're a wonderful family. They're a wonderful family. And Harry, you know, so that's one of my big roles. There are plenty others down the road I can tell you about, but that was my really first big one.
Right.
And I wasn't afraid to step up to it.
And let me just tell my little story before we go.
Okay.
The first time I met you, Herc was at my house, remember, here in Oakland.
Mhm.
And we were doing an interview, and then they looked, and it was like, oh, snap, that's Cindy. So I was like, oh, man, Cindy, you know, I came over with the mic, and you was like, go talk to my brother. I'm not doing that here. This is my brother's time. And so you were like real sharp on that. Like, we ain't talk, we talk when we're done, but we ain't doing no interview talk to make sure you get my brother's story. So you was definitely holding it down and making sure that everything was copacetic for your brother.
But I have to play my
took
part.
that
Even,
back seat. Yeah.
even on the movie set, when I was the movie set, I had to keep my role as a manager. I didn't get caught up in that Hollywood thing. I kept my role as a manager. And I got to know who was, I even got my sister to be in the movie. I got my brother to come in because, you know, you needed extra. And you could see her in the movie because she's dancing with her. There's a scene where you're dancing. And I told her, you're going to dance with her. So this way, you're not going to get cut and be on the floor. So you get, I said, because he had a principal role. I'm on the set controlling thing. Nobody really knows. I said, he was supposed to dance with another actress in the movie. And I said to him, no. Because at that point, I'm the manager, Nikki. You got to play your own now, get what you want. And I said, you're going to dance with Larice. You dance with her. And this way, she won't get cut and she'll be in the movie. And she's in the movie. He's dancing with her.
There you go.
Rob.
Props to you, Cindy.
And she got paid. She got paid for it too. She
yeah.
got paid as an extra, and then we went into double time, so she got paid double time, and yeah.
Cindy, you're getting the whole family paid.
Her got paid too.
They don't know.
The lawyer at the time, the attorney that we had, right? She was like, I'm just willing to work with you, Belafonte. I needed some on my resume. I said to her, Wendy, named Wendy Parmet. I said, Wendy, whatever you do, negotiate your
Get that.
I don't want to get anything from what we're getting to go. So she said, I'm fine. So anyway, when she found out how much money we got, they gave it to us, but we asked for it. She came back and she said, you know, Cindy, is it possible to give me something from that? I just want to that I got paid for this.
Yeah.
I did. I gave her some money.
You're gracious like that.
You were the lawyer, you were the manager, you were a script writer, you rewrote the script, you changed the narrative of the thing. And I know you don't have that all on your resume probably, but just know and let the world know.
My resume.
Okay, good. All right, good. I hope so, because you did more than people realize. And
I mean, go ahead, Bob.
No, I just think that anecdote leads me to the thing that I wanted to ask, because both you and your brother have spoken and emphasized about family, parental guidance, act right when you're in our party, things of this nature, and the positive option that hip hop allowed for youths that might have gotten caught up in different things. And I just wonder, when did hip hop get a bad name? When did this happen? You know, when did, because, you know, I've been, even today, earlier today, I was speaking with, you know, a major educational institution that wants to do a hip hop studies program. They haven't done it yet, you know, and they want to, but there's people there that associate hip hop with negative things and don't think it belongs in education.
The mentality that went out there to the East Coast with the violence and all that stuff, we did nothing about that. You have little gangs and stuff. Wasn't no shooting nobody. You get cut and all that, but wasn't no shooting. Then you got the news. Excuse me. The news started about gangster rap. What do you mean gangster rap? They don't want to start.
Well, you have to remember, it's just not one significant thing, Rob, that started all of this. When you say gangster rap, what started happening? A lot of guys who were hustlers, they found a way now that they can make their money clean. They had the money to go into the studio and drop $5,000, $10,000 in there. And you know, or there's a rapper that's coming up, put their money behind him so he can cut a demo.
There
So
you go.
somebody came up with that gangster rap name, you know? So it's a lot of things that made it evolve that way. You have to remember, drugs started coming in at the time. A lot of artists, not even hip hop artists, musicians got caught up in that drug era. You know, then they started putting a negative thing behind it. So it's not just one thing. That's like a whole nother subject that we can talk about and touch on. But it's a few things that, you know, made that happen.
I asked it because I thought it was beautiful that Biggie was able to say to her, thank you, you know, for creating this thing. Thank you for giving me a way to change my life. And, you know, the young man who I wrote a book about, Nipsey Hussle, I'm sure if he would have had the opportunity to speak with Herc, he would have expressed the same thing. His love for hip hop changed his life, and he changed as many people around him as he could. Their options and their opportunities in life. And there's so many more people that would say that to you if they could. So I guess I'm just gonna end by saying thank you, Kool Herc, and thank you, Cindy, you know, for creating this cultural movement that is still changing lives a half a century later. And, you know, big up to both of you.
And I'm thankful for those artists who have taken their money and put it into, you know, into a level where it's productive for them, you know, instead of just being selfish to keep on their own. They're able to, like, you know, to, like they said, turn it over, make it good, make it clean, and, you know, and put it back into society in a good way.
Right, exactly. And social change was what we were talking about. You know, Harry Belafonte is an activist as well as a musician, you know. Nip Hussle, same thing, you know, leading social movements in his community. And, you know, that's the model, that's the template, you know. We see other people doing it quietly sometimes, but it needs to be uplifted and celebrated as much as having a hot record, you know.
Because Herc and I, we do a lot of things to advocate for hip hop, but we don't go out there and do a press conference. I'm just pleased and happy with the way I am. I'm not with the jewelry. I don't wear, you know, things around my neck, whatever. I'll try to fly below the radar. As they say.
Right now it's tourism. I want to be a part of it. I remember Brenda Blackwood. She said, "You know something about the Bronx? The Bronx is surrounded by water, but the residents don't have access to it." And that's so true.
Yeah.
That's how we want right now, man. It'll be more of a productive part of it. And it's there.
You know? Definitely.
It's time to bring it full circle. Thank you so much. We just want to give a big shout out to the New York City extended play, to all of you, to Jessica, Cosign, and Fair Play. Thank you for being able to give us a space tonight to talk about all this type of stuff. I want to thank the panelists. Rob Kenner, the book is called The Marathon Don't Stop, Life and Times of Nipsey Hussle. My brother, my older brother, he's always going to be older than me, but he's still my brother. Davey D, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, a hip hop history. And to you both, we've known each other now for like 2 decades, like longer than our kids have been. Some of our kids have been alive, right? and it's just, it's such a joy and so beautiful every time we're able to break bread, whether we're doing it in person or like we have to now during the pandemic, thousands of miles away from each other. It's all love. And I know people have been giving you your flowers in the chat. I hope you're able to see that. It's such a beautiful thing. And just so much love to you, Cindy. So much love to you, Herc. Thank you so much for all that you've done for all of us.
I want to tell you too, Jeff. I remember the first time I met you because my brother was telling me about you. He always tell me, you know, Cindy, this guy, his name is Jeff Chang, keeps talking to me about doing a book, and he kept. So this is how I do my feelings. If we should go after something, because we get so many things coming up. But he spoke very well about you. So I said, you know what, I want to meet you, and I met you in the park in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And one of the things I loved what you did, and Herc also did, you said, you didn't ask us anything. You just said, I have a check for her.
Yes.
Remember, you said you had a check for her, and you had a check for him.
Yes.
And that's when I knew you were a good person in heart. And that's how I choose my friends, also, and people, by my feelings. And you had a good heart. Davey D, you're the same way. Also, when I met you, you were a very honest person, and also you're very real. And I picked that up with you. And I love you for that. And I love you, Jeff. And Rob and Jessica, I love you guys too. Even though I haven't met you, but I know I will.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well,
Well,
thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Oh, sorry, Herc, go on.
Thank you. David D, do your thing, man. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, always, man. Thank you.
No doubt. And Herc, just send that playlist over to me, and I'm gonna.
Yes, indeed.
Listen, get the play. You know what? Guess what? I want me to find. I want to go to era. Okay. They want the playlist. We could talk, Dave.
Okay, we got something started here.
Listen, pleasure.
Oh, no.
It's the music.
What Herc is saying is like we could talk, and then he's gonna slide a piece of paper with a number. It's gonna be a big number.
Hey, listen, there is no amount of money that could repay our debts to you. I'm serious. There's no amount of money that could repay our debts to the two of you. So if you slide papers with numbers on them for the rest of our lives, we should basically take that and understand what that means, right? So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you to the mayor's office
Thank
of
you.
Media and Entertainment. They really appreciate you guys for putting us
Thank you,
on, and
Jessica.
look for a recording of this panel coming in a couple days.
Great.
There's a link in the chat. Of course, I'll try to send an email too for everybody who registered, just so you have it. And yeah, see you guys next time.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Peace,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Peace. My brother. Have a blessed day, man. Stay safe.
Take care.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.